Rejoice, Flash haters, as the show finally comes to an end. The Flash is a show that is racing to the final season, and the show was once the television standard of superhero media, having an amazing cast, great CGI at the time, and a cohesive story that rivals the MCU. But nowadays, this universe, the Arrowverse, and this show has come to a conclusion, and The Flash is the final show for it. Premiering October 7, 2014, this show was actually a spin-off to Arrow, the first Arrowverse show. Upon premiering, the pilot had a viewing of 4.62 million viewers. That's more than a pilot of The Vampire Diaries. This show was a make it or break it type of TV series, because this show can create a multitude of shows if it's successful. And it was. The showrunners wanted to make sure that The Flash resembled his comic book counterpart, unlike Arrow, where they were clearly inspired by the Nolan Trinity. With the first season having massive success, it created another spin-off show, Legends of Tomorrow, but that's for another time. The Flash was renewed for another season, and another, and another, and another, and you get the point. A lot of viewers have stated their opinions on the show, wanting it to be cancelled, hating on a certain character, and the first 4 seasons being the best. I kinda agree, but I also disagree, especially with that last opinion. Throughout this video, I'll be going through the first 4 seasons, with the next being seasons 5 through 8, and the last one being 9. Seasons 1 through 2, I'll be giving less of a review, since majority of viewers love seasons 1 to 2. Actually, maybe I'll just talk about season 1 more. Season 2, meh. It's meh for the most part. But for the rest of the seasons, so seasons 3, 4, and 5, I'll be going into more detail. See, since I have a lot of problems on, especially you, season 3.
Run, Barry. Run.
Season 1 is the best season by far, in my opinion. It's so good that it does top Daredevil, Season 1, in, I guess, 1 to 2 categories. Yeah, I said it, we'll get to that in a bit. What made Season 1 work so well, in my opinion, is the amount of comic book cheesiness it had, but it worked in a real setting. The amount of storylines that Season 1 had, and it all fits so well into the overarching storyline that it just made sense. There's no filler into it. So let's go through them and, let's rank them.
Fine Americans. Your country thanks you for your sacrifice.
This is a really good storyline, a bunch of storylines actually. While to me it's the weakest one, since this whole concept is basically villains of the week, it fits really well because of the main plot, and it gives a lot of the main characters to shine. If you don't remember, the particle accelerator explosion was an event that changed history, giving people random abilities, and they're called metahumans, or metas, and Team Flash fights them and stops them, which already is a perfect reason for the weekly villains. It makes sense, and it gives Barry, Season 1 Barry, a chance to grow, not only as a character, but as a hero. And us viewers watch him and enjoy his growth, and seeing him wanting to help them even though they're bad people. We also see him going faster, but that's for another story. We also see character growth to the side characters, such as Cisco and Caitlin, Cisco being the more interesting one personally. In one episode, a villain called Snart has a cold gun that is able to fight Barry, and who built that cold gun? Cisco himself, building it in case Barry ever goes rogue, which is very Batman-like, and it does create some friction in the team. And, by the way, this is early into the series, like 4 to 5 episodes, which is great because it's for trust issues. And Snart as a character is one of the best things in the Arrowverse entirely. His lines, his interactions, and the way he says those lines makes a great live-action Snart. Another character that got a storyline was Caitlin and Firestorm. Firestorm is a combination of 2 people, Professor Stein and Caitlin's supposedly dead fiance, Ronnie. In its arc, we slowly discover Firestorm, who he is, what he is, and how Team Flash can help him. And it gives Caitlin an arc to discover. In the beginning, she was depressed for almost a year, but once helping out Barry and Team Flash, she opens up a little. When reuniting with Ronnie, she becomes overjoyed, becoming her former self before his supposed death. Firestorm arc was an interesting arc. It presented itself in a way that not many shows do. The idea of hunting people who have extraordinary abilities have been touched upon here and there, most prominently shown in X-Men and Smallville. But The Flash shows it in modern age, a time where this is basically the norm, with real life situations that are happening. And we feel bad for every other metahuman that was either captured or tortured because they did not want this life, or because of the man in a wheelchair. We get other metas like Meta that teleports, a meta who controls the weather. Oh, and a gorilla! Yeah, they somehow implemented Grodd in the Arrowverse, the same universe where a man-made earthquake happened in a city miles away from Central City. Now let's talk about the main plot. The best plot in Season 1, and by extension in the Arrowverse, Eobard Thawne versus Barry Allen. This storyline is so good at the relationship between Thawne and Barry. It's so unique and written so well, from Barry idolizing technically Eobard / Wells, them bonding, and their eventual battle. This rivalry is amazing, and this is just my opinion, it's much better than Daredevil and Fisk by a long shot. Before it gets even more upsetting, I will explain.
Run, Barry, run!
Eobard Thawne idolized the Flash. He idolized him so much that Thawne studied the Speed Force and eventually became a speedster himself. Wanting to present himself to the world and start his heroics, the Flash came and stole that from him. Okay? Feeling embarrassment from that, he starts to resent him, and eventually he went insane and hates Barry and wants to kill him. What an origin story right there. He was so close to that goal, but unfortunately, a future version of Barry saved his younger self, and an enraged Thawne decided to kill Barry's mum so he would be traumatized so Barry would not become the Flash. But in the process, Thawne loses his speed. So, in the most ironic way possible, in order to kill the Flash, he must create him. Thawne is a living paradox, and, he decides to do it. Throughout the series, we see Thawne care for Barry in both, natural ways and unnatural ways. And we wonder if Eobard is doing that for his own personal goal, or is it his Harrison Wells persona fully taking over? And throughout the season, we start to see Eobard treat the team like his family, and in his own sick, twisted way, thinks of Barry as his own son. I forgot to add while I'm editing this, also, Eobard is a creep. Like, my guy, when Barry sped into the time vault, you see these bunch of cameras. You see that? That's Eddie and Iris. What a weirdo. Oh my god. This man's a perv on his own, ancestor. What? Regarding the Daredevil comment, it's good. Don't get me wrong. Season 1 of Daredevil is good. Season 1 of Fisk and Matt are good rivals, good enemies. They want to defend their city, but in different ways of fulfilling that goal. But to me, we don't see enough of them interacting to actually get some sense of rivalry. Obviously, the amount of episodes play a role into this, but that's just my opinion. But with Eobard and Barry, we see their entire story together. We're watching it play out from their friendly origins to their fateful confrontation. And Tom Cavanagh, the actor who portrays Harrison Wells / Eobard, is the best actor in the Arrowverse when he's portraying the humble, broken Wells to the rageful, sadistic Eobard. He does it so well that universally, everyone loves him and his character. I don't think I've seen a negative thing. Negative? I should also talk about Grant Gustin, who portrays the titular character. His character, along with his interactions with Eobard, are some of the best things I've ever seen. Barry in Season 1, with is a really likable character. Everyone he interacts with, he's just so happy all the time. Like the time that Robert tried to mug him and Barry just shows off. Along with that, Gustin can also pull off the emotional heartstrings in us, where he talks about his dad, about the reappearance of the Reverse Flash. Whenever he talks about his mum, it's just sad. Like, you just feel bad for him. Feel bad for the character. He didn't want this. All of this was caused from a future version of him and a future version of Eobard. And whenever Gustin cries, we cry. We also cry at the musicals that were created using that scene. We also see his rage. The rage towards Eobard. It's so intense that if not held back by his friends and family, a younger Barry, a Season 1 just got his powers Barry, would have killed Eobard right there in the pipeline. And Season 1, Episode 23, which I will talk about a lot, is one of the best finales in all of the superhero media. When being presented with the opportunity to go back in time to save his mum, Barry chooses it, resetting the timeline once more, and resetting his friendships with Team Flash and his family ties to Joe and Iris. This finale is one of the most compelling, exhilarating, and emotional finales ever. Barry chooses to go back in time to save his mother, sacrificing his new family for his old family, the one he never grew up with. When reaching back to save his mum, a future version of him stops him and speeds off to save his younger self, and that leaves our Barry hearing his mum getting stabbed again. The interaction between Barry and his dying mother, it's some of the best acting, best dialogue, and it's just gut-wrenching. The Allen family did not deserve this. Nora and Henry, and especially Barry, did not deserve this. This scene is amazing, and everyone cried. Seriously, there's no way that you didn't cry during the scene. If you didn't, imagine you're Barry and your mum is dying. Imagine that, and now you're crying. Barry doesn't save his mother, but decides to save what he has in the present and doesn't reset the timeline, pissing off Eobard, and they fight. But Eddie Thorne, his ancestor, shoots himself in order for Barry to live, giving him a choice, and Eobard is erased from existence. The finale finishes off with a singularity, threatening to swallow the Earth whole, and Barry ventures out to stop it, not knowing if he dies. Barry returning to the present means a lot of things. Well, for one thing, Flashpoint hasn't happened yet, but it means Barry as a character has growth. Both Thorne and Barry are really stuck in the past, with one being figuratively and one literally stuck in the past. And Barry is able to move on from that, seeing his mum one last time, kinda, before she dies for the 100th time, and his new family, one he's made throughout the season, and decides to move on from that, or in this case, run forward to a new future. Eobard, however, is unable to move on from the past or future. His obsession to kill Barry overclouds his judgment and how it affects others, including himself, and because of that, he's unable to move on and dies. Season 1 is one of the best seasons ever. It has a lot of emotional moments, a lot of funny moments, great characters, and the actors deserve all the praise that they received during Season 1. While some of the villains are a little bit weak, and some moments maybe were a little bit too cheesy, it made up for with everything positive that I've mentioned. And if I had to rank the episodes, here's the rank. Let's move on to Season 2. Yeah, Season 2, it's fine. It's not bad. It really isn't, but it's not as good as, compared to Season 1. Besides, I'm sure everyone knows what Season 2 is about, what they like, what they don't like. So I'll just give a small rundown on what I do like. I like Zoom. I like the metas that they fight. Hunter Zolomon is a pretty good character, both the Remnant and Zoom. Harry Wells is the best character. Wally is nicely introduced. Patty is the best girlfriend Barry will ever have in his life. Henry dying, I really liked, and the finale was okay. Cisco having powers is really good. The Earth 2 episode was amazing, but I wish there was a little bit more stuff into it. And Flashpoint setup was amazing. Well, Season 3. Season 3. A lot of people are somewhat mixed. I think majority of them are like, oh, I like Season 3, but Season 4 where it starts to dip. I disagree. This is the start of the downfall of the show. Season 3 sucks. Like, oh my god. Look, let's talk about it first. Season 3 begins with Flashpoint, one of the most iconic storylines in modern comic book history. Throughout both seasons, Barry is on the fence on saving his mother, and in the Season 1 finale, decides not to save her. But in the Season 2 finale, decides to since his dad died to Zoom. And when he saves her, over a decade of history resets once more, and it's a birth of the new timeline, dubbed by Eobard, Flashpoint. The idea is amazing, seeing the consequences of Barry's actions and how it affects everyone, and I mean everyone, not just on the Flash show, but the entire universe that is built around him. The endless possibilities, the endless storylines, character interactions, who becomes who, what's new in Flash. It lasted one episode. Alright then. So, after Flashpoint, Team Flash fights Dr. Alchemy, and then eventually they fight the main villain, a new evil speedster who is trying to prove to Barry that they're the fastest speedster ever. That sounds very familiar. Oh wait! Are the writers stuck in a time loop trying to think of the new villain? Anyways, the newspaper that Eobard has in the Time Vault changes, and it shows that something happens to Iris, and we see that Savitar kills her. And it's up to Barry and Team Flash to avoid that future. So, that's the entire plot of Season 3. So, let's get into the bad stuff.
Now who's the villain, Flash? Now who's the villain?
How did the writers mess this up? Flashpoint is one of the biggest changes in comic book history. So by doing this event, it should have been the biggest event in the Arrowverse. Eobard changing the timeline was big. Years and years of history gone. Everything changed. Essentially that's his own Flashpoint. And when Barry changed it again, undoing Eobard's plan, it changed again. Flashpoint again. And a lot of things did change, however. Team Flash never formed, Barry is distant from Joe and Iris, and Wally becomes Kid Flash. And a little bit more stuff as well. They had the blueprint, they had the ideas, but they made it into one episode. This should have been half a season, or until the mid-season finale. What they should have done is, we're introduced to different characters. Let me give the ideas. I think every person who hates Season 3 gives better ideas, honestly. So let's hear my one out. We could put White Canary as the Arrow, so Oliver is dead. Sorry. Kid Flash, Captain Cold, and Heatwave are good guys. You could put Cisco as Vibe maybe, or you can make him a villain. I feel like that would be pretty cool. Earth 2 did that, so why not make Flashpoint do that again? John Diggle as, you know, John Diggle. Actually, no, just give him powers. That would be pretty funny. And, you know, maybe introduce a version of Batman and Superman. Like, that's so easy. They did that eventually, so they could have done it here in Flashpoint. Then the Dominator invasion happens. You could give them the ability to not be affected by timeline changes. So them targeting Earth, specifically Barry. So I think you could keep that reasoning there. I think that was also the reason in the original crossover, so let's check that out. Oh, and you know what? Make Earbud join the fight. You might as well, because why not? Two speedsters fighting aliens. That's a cool thing to do. And then Barry tells the team about Flashpoint and Earbud, just like in the original crossover. And boom, that's the end of the crossover. Barry resets Flashpoint back to the way it was, quote unquote. And boom, Savitar. That's it.
I am the future Flash.
Savitar sucks. I said it. As a villain, he's fine, I guess, but his whole shtick sucks. When Savitar was introduced, he was menacing. So menacing that he one-upped Zoom's introduction, but giving a whole CGI suit instead. Then comes his identity. I hated this. The tease, the build-up. It was kind of obvious considering the whole theme of the season, but they just kept teasing it like it was some big plot twist. Some guy from the future comes up and he's like, haha, you don't know. And then Barry runs into the future. And then future Barry doesn't know. But he does know. It's very obvious by the dialogue.
You will do everything that you can think of to save her. You're even gonna create time remnants of yourself, but he's gonna kill them all mostly.
Then Savitar shows face to Frost, and we still don't know. And then they revealed him, and it was the first guess everyone had in mind. And they revealed it in the second last episode. Just like how Oliver became Raz in the second last episode of Arrow Season 3. Oh my god, Season 3. We don't get time to understand Savitar. We might, you know, we might hear his goals and motivations for like the 100th time, but we don't see his backstory. I know we keep hearing it, you know, he keeps dying, then we keep being reborn, but I would like to see it. See how impactful that might be. I don't understand why the show doesn't do that. You know, in Arrow Season 5, it was revealed that Adrian Chase is Prometheus. Only the audience knows, not the characters themselves. It made the audience know Adrian a little bit better, both his civilian and alter ego. With Savitar, we know next to nothing about him before he explains his backstory, apart from him wanting to kill Iris and torment Barry. That's it. Now, I'm not saying you reveal Savitar's identity so early. At least make it a bit earlier than what we got in the show. Maybe in one episode when Barry, it's not Barry, but Wally got trapped in the Speed Force when confronting Savitar, mimicking in the Savitar timeline where that Wally went for Savitar after Iris died. He should have revealed his identity then. Then it would be, woo, dramatic, woo, but no. And then the worst bit. How does he exist? In the show, it was stated that he's essentially an endless loop. No beginning, no end. Barry kills Savitar, then Barry becomes Savitar, and that continues on. Here's the problem. How does he exist? How did Savitar know that Barry was going to reset the timeline? He shouldn't know because he doesn't exist! What was the original threat that Barry needed to create time remnants, and then be killed, and then Savitar became a thing? How? And then it becomes even more confusing thanks to Earbud in Season 5.
She hates me. Hates me with a passion. And yet, a version of him is Savitar. Much bigger jerk than I ever was. Did you see the face? Did you see the pizza face?
How does Earbud know about Savitar? Remember, this Earbud is Season 1 Earbud, talking to Season 5 Barry, while Season 2 Barry is knocked out. So as far as we know, Thawne has no knowledge on Zoom, Henry's death, Flashpoint, post-Flashpoint, Savitar. Otherwise, he would have had a plan since he knew that Barry wasn't going to save his mum in Season 1. And he knew that Eddie was going to shoot himself, and then Flashpoint. So how does Thawne know about Savitar? What's even more confusing is since post-Flashpoint Earbud states that something is happening to Barry's timeline, stating that Earbud does know about Savitar. But how does that work if Savitar doesn't exist in the original time?
Don't do this. Don't do this.
The idea of Iris having a ticking time bomb on her life is an interesting idea. The man she loves is being killed by the man she loves. Unfortunately, it was executed poorly. Just like how HR's memorial was poorly executed. Justice for HR. We know Iris isn't going to die because of that little plot device that is the face changer thing. But more importantly, we keep seeing the future and how it's all bleak, so we know that's not going to happen. Along with that, the show's able to uniquely explore future events, but we don't feel a connection to those future versions of the characters. The past, yeah, of course we can, because it shapes them into the characters who we know, which is the present. But the future? Not really. How can you grow as a character from the present by a future event? Only Barry could experience that change, and there's really no weight to it. We know our Barry won't be emo, so we just have to watch a slow season and see if the outcome is right. And lo and behold, we're right. They should have killed her off. I mean, I would have been surprised, purposely showing us a bleak future, than us thinking that it really wouldn't happen because the show would not go to that lengths of darkness. But bam, she actually dies. That would have been amazing. Instead, we got that face swappy thing. Yay. Also, I don't like how every character keeps stating that they need to save Iris, otherwise things will go bad. Like, it ain't gonna happen, Barry. We know what's gonna happen, man.
This is about training, so you can get faster and beat Savitar and save Iris.
Just fast enough to save Iris from Savitar.
And Iris dies.
Also, here's a tiny nitpick. When Barry and Wally was racing, and then Barry phased through the wall, and Wally couldn't, and then Wally was complaining about it, Barry was just like, "Oh, you need to do it. Just do it." Barry, what the hell was that? Earbud got like a Speed Force boner when explaining towards you. He was like, "Feel the air, feel it rushing through your veins, and vibrate yourself in the air frequency." And Barry is just like, "Nah, man, just do it. What if you can't drive a car?" And Wally was like, "Just do it, you know? What is this, Barry? No."
I'll talk to him.
You know what's the best way to pad out time? Character drama. It's just unnecessary and pointless and useless, which shouldn't make sense because this season Iris being important to everyone, you know, like the main character, some interesting character drama should have been there. Maybe Barry is acting even more reckless and even more overprotective, or becoming more desperate, you know, to save Iris. Maybe, you know, after getting a lot of lectures about not changing the timeline, he just keeps doing stupid stuff that just collapses the whole timeline. Barry's mistake of Flashpoint should have caused the team to disband further. Caitlin being out of the picture causes Cisco and Julian to leave and rescue her, and the rest try to save Iris, no matter what. But no, I don't remember what the character drama was, to be honest. I'm pretty sure there was an episode where Barry was freaked out because of him kissing Iris in front of their dad. Wait, adopted dad. Maybe you should have thought about that first before they're getting together.
Well,
You time traveled again. That's what got us in this mess in the first place.
Majority of the characters in season 3 have superpowers already. Barry, Wally, and Jesse have super speed. Cisco has his dimensional powers. Julian has powers. Caitlin has her cold powders. Joe and Iris have their guns. So how is it that Central City still has metas? With 3 speedsters, they can clean up Central City within a couple of hours. Like, Barry is so fast when the plot needs to be, but when, say, fighting, you know, a meta who doesn't have super speed, he just sucks. He's so fast that he can change the fabric of space and time, but he can't dodge an ice stick? Speaking of ice, how does Caitlin's powers work? I get the cold bit, but why is she evil? Maybe it affected her mental states. The show never states things, and we're left questioning what's going on. And also, one of the worst things, I think, of Season 3 is the character of Barry Allen. Oh my god. This season made Barry into the worst. He's on par with Iris as the worst character. But this one is just horrible. Him creating Flashpoint caused the direct, you know, it caused Iris's death, essentially. He's done more damage than good. Like, he was literally about to reset the time again for the 3rd time in less than 2 episodes. But then Jay Garrick stopped him, and thank God he did something. Otherwise, something could have worse appeared. And what's even worse is when Jay tried to explain to Barry about about the timeline using a cup, like it can never reappear, like it can never be fixed again. Barry's like, yeah, I know that stuff, Jay, but my dad died, and it's just like, oh my god, Barry, oh, what are you doing? And this is why your wife died. Like, that's what you get, honestly. And throughout the season, Barry was like, oh, I messed up again. I'm not gonna time travel to his team. He even sung a song about it.
Not there in time, you can just go back in time and give it another shot.
I'm actually not supposed to do that anymore.
And guess what he did? Guess what he did? Guess what he did? He time traveled again! He brought Snart into this. And when his own, he has his own time travel shenanigans that he has to follow. Other timelines might collapse. What if Snart died there? Then the whole Legends timeline collapses. And, oh my god, Barry would have just been like, I made mistakes. I will fix it because we're a team. Nah, man. You did this. Even his own team was confused. Like, oh my god. I can't blame Iris for this. Barry just tangled her into this mess. If the universe collapses, you can just blame Barry for it, honestly.
HR. He took her place.
This finale sucks. I can't describe it. Season 2 was an okay finale. Nothing too special, but nothing bad. But Season 3, oof, this one's awful. So, Savitar kills Iris, but plot twist, Iris doesn't die due to that plot device. Literally. And how did HR get the treatment he deserves? Words. Not even a sappy montage. Like, Iris just spoke some words, and he's like, why aren't you crying, huh? He sacrificed his life for you. He bought coffee for you guys. And he paid you that money when he lost the bet. Come on, man. Savitar realizes that he didn't kill Iris, so the paradox catches up to him. Why doesn't he get erased straight away like that other speedster he got erased straight away? We'll never know. So, Savitar starts up his final plan, which I had to search up because I don't remember what that was. And then Savitar decides to talk Barry about being a good guy. And Savitar, being evil, tries to blow up Star Labs. Oh yeah, I forgot. Julian has a cure for Caitlin's evilness. Does it rewrite her DNA or something? Who knows, honestly? Also, why did Barry decide to save Savitar once Iris is not dead? Mate, he killed HR. Why didn't you save him before he's still hell-bent on killing Iris? Why after he killed HR?
Pay up.
Now?
Why? Who knows? Anyways, after a good fight, Barry defeats Savitar by phasing through his suit and becoming red. Why didn't he do that during the fight? During the first time they fought? Or maybe in that episode where they talked for like 10 minutes? Oh, and then Iris shoots him in the back. Wait, what? Iris shot Savitar in the back. A speedster. The god of speed. This is how Savitar loses. I get the irony, but really? That's how he dies? After that, the Speed Force prison, which I don't know how that works, is out of control because of reasons. So, Barry decides to be imprisoned in the Speed Force prison. Ending Season 3. This season was just a mess. Majority of the episodes were just disappointing. Things didn't make sense, and even if things did make sense, it either wasn't explored enough, like Flashpoint, or it wasn't executed well enough, like Savitar. There are things I did like. Tom Cavanagh once again steals the show with every role he plays. The suits I like, especially Savitar's, even though it's a bit weird going from CGI to practical. And weirdly, the musical crossover, even it was a stupid season to put in during the climactic. It was so climactic during the season, and then it goes, hey, musical! What was Savitar doing during that time? Was he just like sitting down? He's like, oh my god, I remember this. I remember everything. Oh, and the Gorilla City two-parter, that was nice. I really did like that. If there are things I would change, it would be these things. Flashpoint for half a season. Eddie should have been Savitar. Or Savitar should have been Barry from the original timeline, the one that Eobard was hailed from. Iris should have died, not because I don't like her character, because from a character growth perspective, it would have made Barry better than Savitar. A Barry who never lost hope, unlike Savitar who lost hope. I'll probably make a separate video for that, but nah, that's fine. I think the best way to describe this season is the ideas were there, but they were erased due to time travel. On to Season 4.
Season 4 is a weird season. Now, is it better than Season 3? Yes. Having the show being comedic while not being overly serious compared to Season 3 is a nice change of tone. But does that save the season? No. This season still sucks. From the start of Season 4, you noticed a different tone and a different feel for the show, almost like a reset or a soft reboot. In episode 1, Team Flash is functioning without Barry, with Iris being the leader somehow. Kid Flash is the protector of the city, Frost is doing her own thing, Julian and Tracy left the team. Team Flash is being overwhelmed by the metas that they face, so they decide to bring Barry back from the Speed Force. They bring him back, but problems arise, and he's not in the best shape, apart from that clean beard and clean hair, apparently. Eventually, Barry recovers his memory, and they become a team again. But a new villain arises. So that's the plot of the first episode. Let's go into the things that I do like.
First,
Right away, this season has a dramatic tone change from the overly serious season that is Season 3 to the overly comedic season that is Season 4, but not in a bad way. Having the show being overly serious just makes the show bad. Bad in a way that it's so similar to The Arrow, the show that is serious 100% of the time, and The Flash should be the opposite, while maintaining some seriousness to take the show seriously as well, which Season 4 did pretty well. New characters such as Ralph Dibny fill that role very well, as he was pretty funny, and his interactions with the main cast make up some great dialogue. While some jokes might not be funny, his character arc makes up for it, having no experience as a superhero to sacrificing his life, saving Barry towards the end of the season. The main characters feel different as well. Everyone is, actually pretty funny this season. Barry is a whole different person, he's more calm, more happy, he's more at peace with himself, and he's pretty funny. And we finally got to see drunk Barry, and answering the world's biggest question.
Barry, what did you just do? I just went and got peanuts from a bar.
you didn't even move.
Or did I?
Also, he did grab those peanuts. Harry, Wells, and Cisco make some awesome chemistry throughout the entire season. Joe and Iris were pretty funny as well. And there's an entire episode where they thought they got jinxed, and Iris tried to have a ceremony with Barry after a funeral, and when they try to get their marriage officiant he has an allergic reaction. And that was pretty funny. And I think the funniest scene in the season is that robbery scene with Ralph and Barry, where he just shoots himself twice by accident. And the Council of Wells storyline is pretty good because it's Tom Cavanaugh. Like, can you blame us for liking him?
I actually don't know.
This is the best episode of Season 4. It had such a unique plot, and how Barry has to deal with it makes this episode really good, one of the best. Well, the best in the season. If you don't remember, a bomb has detonated in the city, and Barry doesn't have enough time to get everyone out, so he enters Flash Time, dubbed by Cisco. It's an ability that slows down time relative to a speedster, so it looks like everything is incredibly still, but it's just moving really slowly. Barry claims that he's obtained this ability when he got out of the Speed Force, but we've seen it many times before that. Just saying. While Flash Time is an overpowered ability, it's incredibly dangerous as it drains a lot of Speed Force energy faster than it fuels them, so if they overuse it, they could lose their connection to the Speed Force altogether. How long it lasted depends on the speedster. Jay Garrick doesn't last so long because of his age. Jessie might last a little bit longer due to her youth and limited experience. So Barry is, the longest because he's the most experienced and he's the youngest, or younger. It's also possible to bring a non-speedsters into Flash Time, but they can't be in it for long since they move at a fast pace and their bodies aren't tuned to high speeds, as shown. What makes this episode so good is the desperation that Barry has. Every solution that they have. Breaching, throwing lightning, even putting the bomb in the Speed Force. What kind of idea was that, Barry? Seeing Grant Gustin act is amazing in this episode. Him just being tired and having no solutions is amazing. And when they solve the problem, it's even better. Barry outrunning a nuke in the process of detonating, along with extra-dimensional lightning shooting at him, while being exhausted from Flash Time. And he beats all three things somehow. That's amazing. I hope Barry can always be this fast. Okay, that's the things I like. let's go to the things I don't like.
DeVoe.
Apart from the tone shift, the biggest change in this season is the villain. That is DeVoe. Finally, a non-speedster. Having a non-speedster is great because it challenges our main hero in a way that is not, I am the fastest speedster alive, fight me bro. But this time, it's a battle of intellect. And ironically, the writers didn't think of this too well. Being based on intellect, it could lead to some great characterization. But instead, oh my god, he's Rick! Down to the hair. When I first heard of DeVoe, his comic design is amazing. I mean, look at those wires and needles in his head, and I thought, the CW can do this. Comic accuracy is one of the, the best things about them. But then this came. What is this? What is that chair? A unique thing about DeVoe is his body swapping mechanic. Him swapping out with other metas is cool because we see how big of a threat that meta is, and how big of a threat that could be to Team Flash. But from a storytelling view, it doesn't make sense. Him constantly swapping bodies means new actors, and it's the same character, but it's having different actors week to week. We don't really connect with them. One week it's a man on a chair, then the next week it's a cowgirl violinist. Neil Sandilands, who plays the actual DeVoe, he's okay, I guess. His main thing is his low energy and monotoneness due to his low emotion, as his intellect was more focused upon, contrast to his wife, Marlize. They make a good duo. Having a duo villain makes that rivals Barry, and Iris more interesting, as it creates more characterization in not just the main hero and villain, also their partners. DeVoe's wife Marlize is amazing, and with the reveal of her being manipulated and drugged by her increasingly more insane husband is great. It adds a lot of depth into the relationship, and we feel something for Marlize, something that DeVoe doesn't have. In their origin story episode, it sucks. DeVoe is a technophobe, and Marlize is a follower because of an accident that she had with technology, and blames it. Okay? And their plan is called the Enlightenment, a plan in which DeVoe diminishes the intelligence of everyone and revert them back into a time without technology by using technology. Even though you're a technophobe, DeVoe, what is this? Over time, that plan derails due to DeVoe's increasingly violent ways due to his transferring ability. His plan involves them using the metas from the bus that Barry got out of, and it infected 12 to 11 people, and uses their powers from the Enlightenment. Why can't he just use the dark matter himself? Later on into the season, he absorbed multiple metas at a time. So can't he just, shoot himself with even more dark matter? Also, how does he know what powers the bus metas would get? What if the meta got the power of touching things, but it changes color? What is he going to do with that? He later builds on satellites, but doesn't control the other satellites around the world, even though he got a power of a guy who controls all technology. Like, there's a lot of satellites, DeVoe. What can't you use about that? If there's one great thing about DeVoe, it's that trend back earlier this year on TikTok.
I'm the fastest mind.
Why is everything dumb? Barry, while being the most positive character, he's also the dumbest character. This season is the start of the speed inconsistencies, in my opinion. The earlier seasons I can understand. Barry is a new speed than Season 1. Season 2, he had to deal with more powerful metas and Doom. And Season 3, his mental state wasn't great because it's Avatar. But this season, he had some really weak metas. Like, we got a meta who can control inanimate objects. We got someone who can control gravity. We got Discount Black Canary. Wait, Discount Black Canary. And we got a crying meta? What is that? A Cisco meta? A meta who can swap DNA now? What is this? It's not a Flash season unless Barry loses his powers for an episode. The other metas, yeah, they're pretty broken. We got Radiation Man, we got a Technology Man, a meta who can control your luck. But for a seasoned speedster, a really smart guy who's got a ton of experience, he doesn't know when to run, per se.
I see her.
She's getting away in a Prius.
Last time I checked, the Flash is faster than a Prius.
Just run! You beat universal threats, but you can't beat a meta who can control inanimate things. Like, just put the dampeners on, then talk. You can run at super speed. You can phase. You can speed mirage. You can throw a lightning bolt. Supersonic punch. Flash time. Along with that, his team, which is still massive by the way, has to explain to him everything. Like, can't he figure out a strategy? He has more experience than Cisco and Joe. I think that's the only two people who go in the field this season. Oh, and Frost and especially Ralph, obviously. Like, you're a CSI guy. You see crimes happen all the time. You fought the biggest bads. A time terrorist. A speedster serial killer. Another time terrorist. And you couldn't beat the bad luck meta? Which, by the way, activated the particle accelerator explosion. It's not a Flash season unless that happens again. Okay, enough about Barry. Let's talk about the other characters. Not you yet. Caitlyn is nothing. She does nothing, and she has no development. After the season 3 finale, we got an interesting possible redemption arc for Caitlyn, since she said she's not Frost or Caitlyn. But in the first episode, she's working at a bar. What's even worse is that Frost's origin story, yeah, she has one somehow, is tied to the day she actually existed with Caitlyn as a child. I thought Flashpoint was the reason, not her dad having ALS and turning to Jack Frost. Like, seriously, the resemblance is uncanny. It makes Barry not in the wrong for Flashpoint, and it doesn't give Caitlyn that character arc in season 3. And in season 4, well, she's nothing. Remember when she was actually a doctor, helping Team Flash in the earlier years? Now, she's only there because of Frost, who does more than her in this season. Characters like Wally, who gets some involvement in the previous 2 seasons, gets booted off the show to make way for Cecile, who becomes a meta through pregnancy. Barry doesn't make any smart moves this season, and even if he did, it didn't turn out well. At first, Barry and Iris' daughter was so obvious, it wasn't even a good reveal at the end. It would have been funny if that was actually Earbud's kid, somehow pretending to be Iris' and Barry's daughter. Barry saying things at the start of the season, but it doesn't mean anything that's of importance. And, wait, no, the finale. We gotta talk about the finale. This sucks. It's not interesting. Couldn't care less. Like, where to start? So DeVoe's plan starts and everything is in chaos. Technology is down. Chaos is everywhere. Harry is dumb. Yeah, that happened. And all seems lost until DeVoe's wife comes in and she says she has a plan to defeat DeVoe by entering his mind and reaching out to the good DeVoe. That's a great idea. The finale taking place inside the main villain's mind. What an excellent idea. What isn't good is the ending. So Barry enters DeVoe's mind and can't find the good DeVoe, but found Ralph instead. Why is he there? Because DeVoe allowed it. What does that mean? It's probably part of DeVoe's plan, which doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, and Cecile's giving birth at Star Labs. DeVoe and Barry escape DeVoe's mind in the most boring way possible. Fighting a lot of DeVoes. And fighting running away from the Matrix style. Also, why can't DeVoe use his powers in his mind? It's his mind! The real DeVoe tries to stop Team Flash inside DeVoe's base and nearly beats all of them. Forces Joe to nearly shoot himself, but is somehow able to resist it because Barry and Ralph escape DeVoe's mind and Ralph gains recontrol of his body and kills DeVoe. Wait, didn't Ralph go through some arc about not killing DeVoe? Team Flash wanted to kill them a few episodes back and they decide not to. And what did they do? They killed him! Also, they fought. The Enlightenment starts and DeVoe has transferred himself to his thinking chair through his techno powers and saying this hidden gem.
I thought of everything. Even this moment.
No, you didn't. A few minutes ago, you were panicking about it. You did not think of that. Otherwise, you would have had a plan to stop Barry and Ralph by, giving those DeVoe your powers. Marlies destroys the chair, effectively killing DeVoe for good, and the Enlightenment stops for real. Well, except a satellite coming down, and then Barry is running, and then a mysterious speedster comes and helps Barry. They celebrate with Cecile's birth baby, and someone comes inside and shakes up the show once again. This season is frustrating in the worst way. The season was essentially a reset in the show's history. The tone was good, the characters okay. Crap. Okay, we'll talk about you now.
Now run, Iris. Run.
God, what is this? Who is this? This is the worst character of this season, and probably of all time. They made Iris bad. What is with her and the writing of the main character's love interest? Every love interest in the CW shows, they get horrible. They get even worse. Where to start putting out the negatives? Oh yeah, she's somehow the leader. If you were Barry, who would you pick to be the leader? A, the police cop who has experience leading a group of people on missions. B, a metahuman who has the power to open up dimensions and is incredibly smart. And Barry even indirectly says that you're the leader.
Don't mess it up with her. I'll do my best. They're all gonna look to you now.
C, a really smart guy from another Earth. Or D, a journalist. Think about it. I think she's a journalist. I don't really understand the reasoning why she's the leader. Apart from her journalism, I think, there's nothing she's good at. And they all listen to her. Even Ralph, the newbie on the team, calls her out for it. And he's 100% right. Barry literally gave Cisco his blessing to be the leader. I'm not saying women can't be leaders. They definitely can be. But they need a form of character development so it makes sense to the audience. Let's say in season 3, the team is divided, torn on saving Iris first or Caitlin. Barry is panicking, wanting to reset the timeline again, but Iris calms him down and calms the team down, focusing on what to do. And that's it. That's the only change I would give her in that season. Not only she calms the team down, she's also putting the team first, then her own life. That's awesome. That's amazing. With that one change, to me, it's more believable that she's the leader. She might not be a genius in battle, but has the charisma and some knowledge for it. But no, she's a generic love interest to Barry, and she can't shoot properly. Seriously, why would you go closer to a swordswoman? She opened up a blog about DeVoe or something like that, like in a stupid post-credit scene. And it's just like, why? DeVoe has no reason to hide from the public. Unless DeVoe is afraid of Iris because he'll be shot in the back or something. She's just not that interesting. There's a lot of attention on her, but it's for nothing, really. You know who needs it? Literally anyone else. Yeah, this season is frustrating. Is it better than season 3? Definitely. But is it good? Not really. This season was basically a reset, new villain, new suit, new allies, and new reasons to hate Iris. But it sucked. Everything was experimental, but for a show that's been on the air for 4 years, it should have been easier said than done. A rather disappointing end to the part 1 of this series. Part 2 will be released some point, I don't know.